Hey guys, I'm excited to share this video with you. What this comes from is a picture that was submitted to me by somebody in the Leather Life community. He sent me this picture and asked, would you be willing to critique my drawing and tooling on this project? So what I've done is I've gone through, I've blacked out the maker's marks on there, but I asked him, I said, hey, would you be willing, if I blacked out your maker's mark, to make a video on this and share? Because I think a lot of people are really going to benefit from the critiques that I had for him. There's some critiques based on core fundamentals, both the drawing fundamentals and tooling fundamentals. Nothing wild and crazy. It's stuff I teach in both my fundamentals courses, but there's some things that he did really, really well that I want to highlight to you, and some things that he can work on that I also want to highlight to you. I wanted to give him the feedback on this project, but I just feel like there's so much value in being able to see this, because you might be at the same place he's at in his tooling, and you might see some of these same critiques in the work that you're doing, or you might not quite be where he's at yet, but can see what to strive for and some things to look out for in your own tooling, that you might be able to head off some of these mistakes from the get-go. So we're going to dive into this. Remember, this is art, not science. So these are based on my opinions, my style of tooling, and the fundamentals that I teach. But you can take these same fundamentals and really look at how they apply to your own style of tooling, or maybe the style of tooling that you're aspiring to tool to. So hopefully you find a lot of value in this. Again, if you're not in the Leather Life community, check the link below, jump in there. Love to have you as a part of that. And you can always submit pictures. Let me know in the comments as well if you enjoy this type of video, if this is something we should do more of, if you find benefit in seeing this critique. Let's dive into it. So you can see here in the center, I've blacked out where the maker's marks were, keeping this anonymous, but I appreciate this person allowing me to critique this and share it on a video, because I think there's some really valuable stuff that you're going to get out of this. So starting off, we want to look at drawing as well as tooling. So as we're zoomed out here, I want to look at just the overall layout, right? Drawing wise. And this is just fundamentals straight from Pencil to Pattern Challenge, Drawing Fundamentals course, or whatever. It's just my personal opinion on how things roll, but did a great job. When I look at the layout on this, let's take a look here. I have a continuous circle over here. This is the one that continues to go all the way around, and then that branches off. We branch off that way. This branches off here, branch off there, branch off there. Go back to our continuous circle here, going counterclockwise, branches clockwise, branches counterclockwise, back down to our center. It breaks off down this way, goes clockwise. That one branches off counterclockwise. So excellent job on the flow as that layout. So thinking back to the original part of your drawing on this main skeleton, your circles, your connections, your curves, all of that is working well. Now, let's move on from there to some things that are could be drawing related and or tooling, maybe a combination of both. But when we start getting down to kind of more of the details of things here, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Now, what we're looking at here is a mirrored image, right? A left and a right side to these saddle fenders. But I'm going to zoom in. Wow, we can get really zoomed in here. This is great. And let's look at some tapering. Now, what do I mean tapering? Thinking about going from wide and narrowing down. Overall, on the vine work here, I can see you're aiming towards that, doing really good. Look at individually on some of these sticker vines that come out. You do an excellent job. You got the foundation there to where we look at a sticker vine that branches off. It's the widest point is where that branches off, and then we taper down, create more of a triangle out towards the tip, and then it tapers back down, creating another triangle. Let's look at this one right here, kind of right to the left side of the screen. Hopefully we're seeing that where my cursor is. But where this branches off, we're wide here, and then it tapers down, kind of create almost a little bit of a triangle that way, and as well as a triangle back down your vine. Super good. Um, as far as doing that, that helps create flow. Now, where do we not see that? This is the point I want to kind of look at. Sometimes we can get a little bit blocky right here. This whole big chunk gets a little bit blocky in there, not so much taper into that. Now, even down here, we get narrow across here, and then it stays narrow, stays pretty consistent right through there. It's almost a little bit of a rectangle. So we don't want rectangles. We want to keep going for those triangles to where it keeps tapering down. And that's what's going to help that flow. Look, like right in here, this is great. See how we're wide, we taper down, everything's tapering, flowing around that curve. We like that. Now, one thing that is a fix, and this is kind of maybe an easy fix, and personal opinion, maybe not popular opinion, but personal opinion. With your mule's foot, we use a lot of mule's foot in here, and I would do it a little bit less and possibly in a little different spots. Now, look at right in here. I love where you used it up here at the top. It seems to flow good. The size of that mule's foot matches up to where this vine tapers in, and it just brings that around there. Now, in here, you use that mule's foot right at the end of where this vine is coming and fades, but it only fades like right here. And then we put a stop on that, throw a mule's foot in the middle there, which breaks up any and all flow out of that. Now, you did a good job running the mule's foot as far as staggering that, starting deep, fading light, tapering that off. Really good as far as the how. Just the where that I disagree with. Rather than putting a mule's foot here, I would rather see you take the edge of this vine, this cut right here, and continue to fade that down. And that would help break up this big open spot of vine work that you have here. You're doing an amazing job on tapering, right? Or fading those bevel cuts. Let's look on this side. Look at this cut here. Nice and deep. See that good shadow in there? And then that fades off really good. This outside one fades off really good. I can see you're doing a good job on those fades. Use that to your advantage and run that down here and fade that in, would be my suggestion on that. Now, another spot we can kind of watch for is like right here. You have this outside line coming, and if it was to continue, it'd just shoot off across the side there. So that breaks up things on my eye a little bit. Make sure we finish that, pull that curve around there to where it follows and back towards that main skeleton there. One thing I got to say that I really, really like is I love the depth you got out of your flower centers. This is great. You're running that center and then running that shading out from the center into those petals, and how you've have some area in that petal unshaded, right? So from your center, you're shading out, from that out at those petal tips, you're shading back in. Really good job. It's eye-catching to me. I really like that. Another thing that I really like, again, I backed out to zoom out of this just to kind of see, but the shading on your flower petals in general, I love where you're getting that highlighted ridge out towards the edge. You're running that shading in a little bit. It fades as it comes in. Really nice job. And you're fading your shading off good out in these sticker vines too. It's looking smooth. I can tell that's something you've been working on and striving for. So really, really good job there. A couple other spots that we want to address on here. One is these swirls here. I like them, good use of them. They're great space fillers. Watch on the taper. Okay, so I'm gonna see if we can get zoomed in on this bottom right here. This is a great example. Now it's kind of towards the top of the screen, hopefully. But these two swirls on the bottom of this fender here. This one here, that's in the center of these three. Let's look at this. We branch off from this vine, maybe a little straight here. I don't know. That line could taper some, but for the most part, right up here at kind of the wide part of that swirl, right up there at the outside of that curve. See how that's wide across there? And then we narrow down, we taper down towards that point as that swirl comes around. And then it's also tapers back down the vine. Really, really good. It's balanced. It flows around there. Now let's look at his ugly neighbor here. I don't like him as much. Why? Well, let's look at it. We're kind of wide up here, but see how he comes up and then hard turn and kind of get some harder L look to that rather than that nice smooth curve like you did here. And then we've also kind of created more of a rectangle right here. We don't taper as much there. We don't quite taper. We just kind of go from fat and wide to then kind of narrow, maybe almost like a snake that's eating a mouse or something. Like it doesn't have the flow as some of these do. Like this one here, another great one on that middle that rolls around there. And when I compare left to right side, the swirl that I don't like on this one, you did a much better job on it here, especially as it comes back towards that vine. Look at this outside line, nice curve around there. When coming towards that tip, you stay a little wide here. You could narrow that up some, but I think this was a tooling issue more than a drawing issue, just judging one side to the other. I think just kind of got into a tooling thing maybe when you pulled the cut. But uh, so I always just like to point out the ones, if I'm not liking that, but let's look at the ones I do like. So strive for those center ones would be my opinion on that. Um, Another personal opinion on it, I wouldn't run your camouflage on the inside. I think you can help get more look of that around not having that on the inside, but not that it looks bad. It's just not how I do it. Again, that's more of a personal opinion thing. You're consistent with how you run it on here, so hey, keep rocking it. It's working for you, but just not my personal style on that. And oh yeah, this one I'm a little bit of a stickler on decorative cuts. Kind of my favorite part on there. Now, I notice you don't have them in the swirls for the most part. I think maybe there might be one little hidden guy there, but for the most part you don't run them, but you just don't run those period across the board. So that's kind of how you got that going. Not going to knock you for that. However, I'm going to knock you on missing them in this flower petal right here. So, as I know that was not intentional. That one's just a missed one there. So make sure we get those decorative cuts in there. That final look over before you get finished with it. But um, background spaces. Great job as far as balancing those out overall on this project. And that's something that really comes from the drawing, right? When you're laying that pattern out, you put in our skeleton, and then you add your space fillers, these flowers and leaves and swirls, and then you start running those sticker vines and the vine work. What's the purpose of our vine work? It's connecting our space fillers and then creating backgrounds. So we're using the vine work to create our backgrounds by cutting down a space, right? Look at right here. This big old space here was cut in half by creating this vine out here. That's what I mean by using that vine work to create your background spots. So overall, great job on that. Couple things is just don't be afraid to run those out a little bit further in some of the spots, I would say, which is you're working towards. It just looks like continue to get more comfortable with that. I had a couple where, here we go. Where to go? I had a spot I was looking at for that. And let's see. So like right here, um, we got kind of a double little guy in here, just filling some space there. You could take this one here, run that and roll that out, just extend that vine out a little bit, and you would do the same job without having this short stubby look where those two end at the same spot. Just roll that one out around there a little bit, could help fill that. And again, that's just extending that one piece out. Right here next to this leaf, a little bit of the same thing. I would just extend this one out a little bit, make that just a little bit bigger, he might match the size of this one here, and it would do away with having that extra little stubbed off piece in there, but still be able to cut that background spot. Uh, Great job here. These balance out, moving around there. This one here, again, I could maybe branch that out a little bit to fill those in. But man, overall, really good job on that. Lastly, just to watch for is watch for your kind of thickness on your stems there, these flower stems and some of the vine work, that we don't get too spindly. So you can kind of, looks like have a tendency to get a little spindly, maybe trying to use that inside of this vine, inside of that stem. Might be cutting to your skeleton a little bit fast, and you're trying to create these background spaces in here. It's okay to have that stem covered up by flower petals a little bit more, and not have as many of the background spaces right around the inside of that flower. Like this stem here, for example, is coming around. It's really thin right here to try to create this space. You could almost broaden that out just a little bit more and pull that around. And some of that just comes in translation from drawing to tooling as well, and keeping that in mind. When we draw a line, remember that every line that we draw, when you draw those vines, they're going to narrow up when you tool them slightly, because you draw that line, but then you have to cut it. And then after you cut it, you bevel on those sides so they all squish in just a little bit more. Just again, an experience thing, something to keep in mind as you go. But overall, man, great job on this. Thank you for being willing to be critiqued in a video like this so others can benefit from it as well. I think there's a lot to come of this, because man, you're on the right track on so many different things. So it just really gave a point to fine tune on a lot of things. Appreciate you being willing to do that. Hey, take a minute, let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this, if you find value out of seeing a critique like this, and if we should do some more videos like this. Also, if you're not in the Leather Life community yet, be sure to follow that link as well and jump in there, be a part of it, get around other like-minded people learning and growing in the leathercraft industry. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of your leathercraft journey, and look forward to seeing you on the next video.